Sholthana, please come on up. And the stage is yours. And so is the clicker.
Is this thing on?
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys can all hear me. Excellent. So I need to bring you back on target for those drinks that you're going to enjoy responsibly. So how am I going to do that? Well, out comes the joy. Welcome the storm that comes with lightning, and welcome to regulators. That's me. I'm going to give you 10 seconds of incomplete data about me, just to start off. So I'm a career central banker and regulator. FCA, PRA, Competition Markets Authority, Bank of England, game, set and match. So if you think I like regulation, then you're probably right, and add PhD in open regulation to that. So I absolutely love it. But there's lots more in between. In those roles, I've been Chief Data Officer, Head of Data Innovation, Head of Regulatory Technology, and all sorts. It's going to be a bit hard to top the joy you all felt, because the title of this talk is about data governance in the age of AI. And I've seen lots of informations meant about what does that mean to us, what are we going to do. I'm going to ask a few questions to the audience, and in true fashion, I'm analog. So hands up if you think. So we've got to think about who should lead AI in an organization. Hands up if you think the Chief Data Officer or the equivalent should lead AI for an organization. Okay, I'm going to go with 5% in my quick maths here. Hands up if you think the CEO should lead AI in an organization. Oh, marshalling up towards the 10, 15% here. Hands up if you think the head of compliance should lead on AI. Oh, sorry to all my third line colleagues sitting right here. Such hate. Hands up if you think the CIO or your CTO should lead AI for an organization. I'm going to go with self-promotion there. You're on your own. And there you go. Hands up if you think AI should be the responsibility of more than one individual in an organization. There we go. So I feel like that's it. Goodbye. Thank you very much. You all know. Is that quick enough for you? There you go. You're all blooming responsible. Absolutely. Right. I'll give you a little bit more information so you can go back and actually say, why did you put your hands up and what's behind that and why is it so important? We're not going to go back to data being here from the time of collecting Ishango bones or etc. Data's been collected from the dawn of time. But what it's been collected is in societies from the dawn of time. If I ask AI today, what does a perfect CEO look like? Unfortunately, it's not 5'0" with blue glasses. And that in itself is kind of the real problem, right? It's incomplete. There is no AI without data. You're all here because of that. It's so nice to talk to a bunch of proponents and people who could actually get it. I'm just going to take you straight to it. What happens when it goes wrong? You had lots in this panel about actually, scarcity around the use of data in AI, the checking of AI. And really, there's no better way to show you that than real-world examples. So next 5 minutes or so, I'm going to give you a bit of a kind of solemn tour into the reality of what happens when you don't do good data governance, what happens to actual people just like yourself sitting here facing that exclusion or whatever it is around discrimination when you use AI without good data governance. So the first one here is around ethnicity bias. Yes, it's personal, but it's also real. You can see here, I'm not going to go through it, but in postcodes with largely white populations, the lowest average quote received on insurance was £542. In postcodes where there were 2/3 of people of colour, it was actually 837. No other distinction, no other factor in terms of those two price rises. Was the data wrong? No. Was the data complete? Yes. Could it be absolutely 100,000% great quality? Yes. Did it lead to a biased outcome because of AI? Yes. The data was not representative. The world of data governance changes with AI. That's the thing. You're no longer in a point where your original dimensions and facets of data are where you were going to be before. You have to think beyond this. Does that mean, do you now sit there going, oh shit, I don't want to use AI. I've got the chilling effect. No, actually, I think there was an individual earlier that in the time I was here that went, why can't we use AI to mitigate bias? Absolutely. So let's get smarter with data. Let's create data. Let's have synthetic data, whatever it is to fill those gaps. But also, let's think really carefully and responsibly. Let me give you another example. I'll give you a few just so you get a bit more. Another one. You can see here the same with home energy deals, broadband deals, all sorts of financial exclusion data, all because of incomplete data, not wrong data. And it's not just outside the house in your services, it's inside your house in operational. You know, whether the data means that everybody gets paid wrong because suddenly you're using AI to utilize your ERP systems. I bet you all miss people signing it off at that point. And these are real world examples. This happened. And I'm really sorry to Charles Schwab and Citibank right now, but I have to tell the truth. And here is an example of where data quality created failures. I won't labour on it. All of these are publicly available if you search hard enough. Let me go outside of financial services because it matters. Bias in brain imaging research. Who thinks that, you know, the bigger the brain, the more that's in it? Apparently, according to this research, because of the biased data that went into the research, only particular types of people who represent a certain demographic of people have bigger brains. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. And again, that led to biased results. And actually, they redid that particular one in terms of brain research and realized when they completed the data for the lack of representation, the answers were completely different. Completely different. That's a quick whistle stop. I can show you lots and lots and lots of examples of actually where it's gone a little bit wrong. And then what that can do is, if you see the earlier questions about AI is all change, potentially. Whether it's all change for the good or not is entirely down to who is responsible. And that's why I think it's super, super important that data is not just for technologists. You know, the EDM Council taught me actually years ago when I did the first course, many years ago, that it's not my data. So therefore, me being fantastic at data governance on my own is nowhere near good enough as where it needs to be. But how do you get a lawyer who trained, you know, in law for X amount of years, interested in legislation, interested in data governance, information asset ownership? How do you get an economist interested? How do you get a trader interested in data? That is where your challenge is as data advocates. That is where the EDMA's challenge is. Data is not just for data professionals. Data is for everyone, especially in the age of AI. So it's really important that we think about data is valuable for a whole organization, but it also needs to be owned by the whole organization. Emerging technology isn't going anywhere. I think the word competition was used, and I do duly sit in the competition market authority now, and it is really important. Those who can utilize their data effectively, you know, they are going to remain competitive. But unless you're brand new and you're building by design, there's somewhere across the landscape that says, how do I trade off the balance in sorting out my legacy, but whilst also using that same investment pot to take my organization forward? And I think it's really important that it's use case driven. So cross-departmental collaboration is key. I'm on my takeaways. How am I doing for time? I'm good? Good. Cross-department collaboration. Your first line, your second line, your third line. Leave my risk colleagues alone. When you want to jump off the cliff with AI, there will be your parachute. So, and it's important that you have that distinction between model builders, for example, data governance colleagues, and actually those who can then independently review and evaluate. In all of those scenarios that I described to you earlier where it went wrong, it was people marking their own homework. If I build a model, of course I'm going to say it's great. I could build my whole career on that. So who's going to make sure? So legal and compliance is really important, but it doesn't have to be the guardrail. It can be your champion. The analogy I sometimes use is, if we didn't have brakes on cars, we'd all go very slow. And sometimes I feel like legal and compliance it should be treated like the brakes on a car. They're actually there to make you go faster. It's that knowledge of having a brake that allows you to stop at the right time, move at the right time, accelerate at the last time. So for those in the front line of the business, I say bring them in. Bring them into the cap of building, and ensuring that your data and how you utilize that data is actually working for AI. Business teams, again, in the examples I gave you, corporate knowledge, business knowledge was lacking. Otherwise, someone probably could have said, it's probably really wrong to go, this postcode should pay that much, and this postcode should pay X amount, and not thinking about other things. Nous, I think they call it. Make sure you include and allow the business teams to not only apply their nous, but own their space. Data stewards, data practitioners don't necessarily own all the data. It's really important that we share that kind of responsibility across. Penultimately, change management. I think it said all change on the train station there. So how are you going to change manage it? How are you actually going to get people on the camp? You know, there are people who think, I don't want AI, and they're actually losing an opportunity. And then there are people who are like, AI all the way, get rid of humans. I think, you know, I was having a bit of a joke when the AI didn't work 3 times, and do you know what made it work? The human in the loop. The guy at the back. So really, that human in the loop is tested and utilised all the time. And the last thing really is around what we call ethical governance. Sometimes people say, well, that's what laws are there for. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. We exercise that as people every day in our lives, whether you want to call it virtue ethics or moral obligation or everything in between the legal and moral. It's really important to think about that. And if I could say it simply, like I said, just because you can doesn't mean you should. So I will leave you with those takeaways. You've got, I think, one more session before us and drinks. It was a whistle stop, a lightning talk. I prefer it that way. If you want more data and to complete that data, I'll be around for a little bit afterwards. Thank you.